Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Pastrnak sent it out in front for Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Potter right in and goalie scores. Oh my, what a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get it to it. Score!
The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Hey Bruins fam, Maria and I are off enjoying the holidays, so our friends Adrian and Mo have come back to host another Too Many Men episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. This week, they bring on a special guest and lifelong Buffalo Sabres fan to talk about last week's game. We hope you enjoy and have a happy holiday. See you in the new year.
All right. Hi, welcome back. This is Adrian, and I'm joined by my friend and compatriot Mo.
Hello.
A special Too Many Men edition of Bruins Tape to Tape. And we do have a special treat. We have a guest. Last night, the Bruins beat the Sabres by a score of 3-1, increasing their record to 7-2-1 for the month of December. And though the Bruins didn't make it easy on themselves, that was not the real story. The real story is that in losing that game, the Sabres increased their losing streak to a staggering 13 games, which has led much of hockey fandom to ask us what the hell is going on in Buffalo. And more importantly, is everybody okay? Here to help shed some light on that and give an inside fan perspective on Buffalo Nation, he is a lifelong Sabres fan and one of my best friends going on 30 years. He's the man who sends me the Brad May clip every April 24th. He is also the man who taught my 11-year-old daughter how to shit talk mere weeks into her hockey fandom. But he is also the man who was on the other end of the phone with me during Game 7 against Toronto last year and stayed quiet so that I could experience Pasta winning the game, even though he saw it 5 seconds earlier. He is the Baron Zemo to my Winter Soldier, and he was royalty before the league destroyed his country. Welcome to the pod, Kevin from Buffalo.
Oh, what an intro. I love it.
Yeah. Welcome. As is tradition, you and I have known each other a long time. You're just now meeting Mo. I have been privy to your hockey fandom and the Sabres going on all the way back into the mid-90s. But for the sake of everybody who is just now getting to know you, why don't you take a moment and quickly introduce yourself? How is it you came by hockey? What is your relationship to the Sabres? How are you doing?
Okay, that's a lot. My hockey story is that I grew up in Buffalo, so I don't really even know what my story is. Somewhere around 5, 6, 7, we were just watching games on television and got into it. When I was 5, 6, 7, the Sabres were on a, I think, 9-year streak of never getting out of the first round. So you can imagine why the Brad May goal, like no other fan base celebrates leaving the first round the way we do, right? No other fan base is like, this moment of leaving the first round is absolutely glorious and should be celebrated upwards of 30 years.
That's true.
Maybe Toronto.
Yeah. Toronto had made it out, though.
Yeah, I know.
Buffalo did.
It actually happened there well.
Yeah.
No, but it's like JFK. I mean, I know exactly where I was in my basement. I know the exact first phone call I made. My friend called me. My dad answered the phone at 10 o'clock, which at the time was a big no-no, right? You cannot take a post 10 o'clock call. And when my dad picked up the phone and was like, what's going on? We were like, they scored. They left the first round. And he was like, oh my God. It's like, okay. And he hung up. And I was like, wow, that was transformational. So that stayed with me.
Okay.
Your other question of, how are we doing? We're dying. If we're not already dead, unless it's like the Sixth Sense and we've been dead for, 8 of these last years.
Yeah. It's interesting because, as you know, you're aware, Boston fans, they love bitching. But my relationship with you has made me many days wake up and go, as bad as anything might be looking, any day, and I say this with kindness, any day we're not Buffalo, it's probably a good day. The plight of the Sabres over the last many seasons, it's interesting because it's a team that arguably should be doing better than it is, and for some reason can't seem to get out of its own way. And for a while, it's a little funny. It's not funny anymore, honestly. Like this shouldn't. Something's seriously wrong. The thing that I was wanted to mention again, and I mentioned to the Discord, was that the game against Colorado when you were up 4-0. I remember texting you and being like, "Kev, they're up 4-0," and you wrote back, "They'll lose," and that was all you wrote. And then
it wasn't even like a negative thing. That wasn't even me just being like, I'm going to poop on it before to just like save my soul. It was like, they're 100% going to lose this game because they're so soft. They're just, and it's like me who's like never done anything hard in my life, right? Like I've never banged in the corners. I've not fought anyone, but I know that's what you have to do, right? And if you're not going to do it on the ice, it's pretty obvious that it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into it. Where, from a standpoint, here's the floor. Whose fault is this? What's going on?
I don't know. It's everyone's fault. I mean, it's just a colossal mess, right? Because you've tried like all the players who have left have gone on to massive success, and not like massive success over like 6 years. It's like in that season immediately they're Stanley Cup champions, right? So it's like immediate. It's like leaving some sort of vortex. That like you're in Shitsville and then all of a sudden you're a champion.
Yeah.
So it's like I think some of it's just mindset. I think you get here, you have the negativity of Buffalo fans. We're all kind of like, just show us the baby, like get on with it already. And they're like, well, winning's tough, blah, blah, blah. But like everyone else is going through rebuilds and getting something. And by something, I mean just like mediocre level of excitement, like a reason to stand up. I went to the Vancouver game over Thanksgiving. Sabres scored like, I think 3 goals. And I think I only stood up for one of them because 2 of them were just like such a slog that you're just like, oh, sweet. Right? Like that's like the best you can do. Even the Sabres celebrate. Like they don't even have a celly. They just stand there and just like, whoever can possibly mosey on over here to hug me, I will accept it, and I won't like my face won't even change. Like they just like have that partial cerebral palsy like stress where their face is just like deadened down the side, and they just hold on to each other for 2 seconds, and then they like figure skate off, waiting for flowers.
Oh dear, oh boy. So,
but wait, to answer your question though, so like it's kind of on the players, but it's not on the players. It's kind of on the coaches. You hire a soccer coach and you get soccer results, right? Like that didn't work. Then you keep his assistant and you're like, whoa, let's try this for 3 years. And it still sucks. So it's like, you don't even have hockey people involved in this. Like I get that Granato is a hockey person, but Kruger is just like a con artist. And like anything under his coaching tree essentially is this con artist thing that just stays with you. Then you bring back, Lindy Ruff, who when he was with us in the 90s, looked like Lindy Ruff. Now he looks like Salman Rushdie and just looks like he would rather be chased by like some sort of, cult who hates him. I think Salman Rushdie had a better time getting stabbed in the eye than most Sabres fans.
Oh boy.
Harsh.
Is that over the line?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I asked and answered, I guess. So yeah, on the spectrum of ownership, management and front office, coaching and players, like, are you saying the blame goes across equally? Like,
I don't think it goes equally. I think it goes to the top. I think it goes to Terry Pagula. I think he is a hockey nerd like the rest of us. And, if any of us were given a couple $1 billion, bought the team, wouldn't you think like, well, I got some good ideas. And he keeps having those good ideas for 13 years and none of them have been good ideas. Right. And I don't think he's like I think he just is passionate enough about this that he wants to figure it out himself. That's why you have a total like stooge in Kevin Adams. And as a Kevin with an I, it's so irritating to see a Kevin with the Y.
Okay. Okay.
But it would also blame the players for being too soft, right? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I think this team is soft.
Yeah.
But like, how many different players can you have? I mean, I thought Eichel was kind of like a whining baby. I still think of him as a whining baby, but he needed to be in a different setup, right? Like he was supposed to be the king and they didn't want to give anything else to him. But he had Reinhardt. He had O'Reilly. Like, he had like an unbelievable team on paper at the time, and stupidly more so now, when you see everyone's success. So it does feel like you're kind of just in a like you're on the Lost Island. Like, we just can't get off this island.
Yeah.
Right.
So that, I mean, the other big thing that came out was the sort of the team meeting where the owner came up and was like, "We believe the answer is in the room."
Yeah, continue.
Is the answer in the room?
No.
Or no?
Have you ever had this speech in your workplace when they're like, "Hey, we got rid of the coffee machine, and let's just admit we're never bringing that back, but you guys are going to do a great job." You're just like, fuck you. Where's the coffee? Like, the first thing you're going to do is have the worst Monday after that, right? Which is what the Sabres did. I think they got just shit kicked by the Habs. And at some point, I think I told Adrian this separately, Mo, but this has become like our 9/11. Where like these previous rivalries were like Habs fans, Leafs fans. I'm on a Bruins podcast where you guys are sympathetically like, "Hey man, this is just like so terrible. It's just different times now." And it's like, we're not even allowed to be in the rivalries anymore. We're just like some sort of like special needs case. That's just like, we got to get you money. Got to get anything. It's like a GoFundMe. The Sabres have become a GoFundMe.
Yeah. It's for us. It is weird to think of the fourth team in the Northeast. And I say this with kindness and love, just being largely irrelevant. I mean, Montreal, I want them at the bottom. Anytime they come anywhere out of the bottom third, I remember why I hate them so much, because they just become so full of themselves again. And I just want them to go back down. Toronto, we'll talk about Toronto later. But then there's you guys, which always seem to be right on the edge, but then never quite make it. And every time the postseason comes, it's like watching a bus pull away and the one person that's late for it and just sort of running after it. And you're like, oh, it's horrible. He's going to need to stop running though soon. He just keeps, and then you do, the guy slows down a little bit and it just sort of accepts defeat. This year is different than the other ones though. This one's bad because at the end of every season, most of the league is like, man, they'll probably get it next year though.
No, they won't. I mean, I think I think you're right that this is the year that like stops the like talking heads of like, oh, where they're young, they just need another piece. It's like, to me, the roster, what's soft about the roster is that you have two things working against you. You have too many teeth on the roster and you don't have enough beards. Line 3 and 4, right? Like, if the average adult should have like 20 teeth, that means line 3 and 4, max capacity is 120 teeth. You should have about 75% of those teeth on lines 3 and 4, right? And the Sabres have all 120. Like, it just speaks to how soft they are. Like, someone's got to be like gritty, has had his tooth knocked out from a block shot, from a punch, anything. All these guys are trying to be the same guy who's like, I will eventually become a superstar, but I will sit here on line 3 giving a very minimal level of effort. And because there's no one pushing you, the Sabres will continue to just keep playing that hand, being like, well, I lost that time, but we'll try it again. Right? If you're not talented and you're not gritty, then what is line 3 and 4? They're just a placeholder. And
So,
like, not enough beards. I'd say like the defense, we have everyone who wants to play offense and no one who wants to stand in the slot and, have a grizzly beard and just hack people down. So that's what I think is wrong with the roster.
and do you think it's a culture issue at all? I mean, you mentioned earlier, Eichel won a cup, like Reinhardt, Oposo cups, Olmark won a Vezina. Even like we picked up Hall, and Hall worked fine for us until we needed to ship him off to make cap room. It seems like those who depart, as you mentioned, immediate success. So from a culture standpoint, is there something there that chemistry wise is holding everybody back, or?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, like, I'm not in the room, obviously.
Well, but like, reading the temperature of the, from a fan's perspective, do you think that might be what it is, or something else?
I'll say the similarity is like, with the Bills drought when they were losing for 17 years consistently. It felt, I don't know, this might be like a recency bias, but like it felt hopeless, but it did not feel like this. There's like no coming out of, but you kind of knew with the Bills that like you needed a transformational talent. that the Bills just simply never got. And then you got Josh Allen, who was just like, yeah, it's a terrible town, but we're going to figure it out because I'm going to figure it out. That's all I can do. And he figured it out. Sabres, on the other hand, have gotten generational talent after generational talent. And everyone's just like, we have no idea. Eichel didn't get it. Dahlin isn't getting it. Power doesn't get it. Like, how many pseudo first round guys do you need to still be like, and someone like, I think Dahlin and Eichel played together on the same, right? Like on the same teams. So it's like stacked and they still didn't get it. So it's like, how many players are there that are better than Rasmus Dahlin, Jack Eichel, and Reinhardt on the same team that are going to figure it out? Like, one person's going to figure it out in a way that those three together could not. I mean, I'll also say, I think it's just constantly playing these people young is a disaster. Like, they do need to just get a bunch of 28-year-olds who are fighting for their career, and all these draft picks are just sitting in Rochester figuring it out, right? Like, they got to get their man strength. They have to figure out the pace of the game, and they have to learn what it's like to be a pro. When you put them in at 19, I mean, I met you at 19, and you think, oh, the type of dumbasses we were then. Yeah. I mean, would you put us in charge of $83 million salary?
That's me. I was also young myself, so I probably thought this would have been a great idea. But I hear you. I mean, I think they've Devin Levi, right? Levi or Levy? What is it? Levi?
Levi.
Yeah. Like, I remember when they were calling him up and he was showing some signs of promise, and you were feeling very heavily that they were bringing him up too early. So I guess that's a fair point. So from a fan perspective, I have at least some respect for those that showed up with palm trees after the GM made the.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. For those of you who might have missed this, well, actually, go ahead. What was the palm tree incident? I know your screen name right now is Taxes and Palm Trees, so why don't you give us a little bit of context on that?
Some of the local press had come out. I think this is like game 10. You're into 10-game losing streak. And some of the local press who are kind of your negative Nancy's, but they usually write something that's kind of enjoyable. You know, they essentially demanded that Kevin with the Y show up and take some questions. So he shows up and he clearly is flustered. And at some point he's like, well, it's really hard to get people because, we don't have palm trees and we have high taxes here, which is hilarious because like the Northeast has high taxes and no palm trees. Canada has no palm trees and high taxes. And yet people are showing up because those teams win. People come to, Massachusetts. People want to play for the Bruins. People want to play for the Leafs. People want to play for like any Canadian team. So it is not those things. But Kevin Adams, I think, is such a buffoon at what he's doing. Like, he might be a great guy, but he's just such a buffoon at what he's doing that the Sabres are like exclusively on the no trade list. So he's made a couple deals. If you read, whoever, Friedman or anyone else, and it sounds like he's had deals that teams have agreed to, but then the players themselves have shot down. And so I think he feels like he's at a loss of words.
So how? I mean, what do you think needs to happen to snap the Sabres out of this, or is this just going to be like you're just grinding yourselves into dust? And like, is there any light at the end of this tunnel?
No, there's none. It's like Mo's recording studio here. It's just pitch black.
That's it. So, I mean, do you guys want to see a trade? Do you guys want to see like someone out, someone in?
Not with Kevin Adams, though. It's just like he's such a buffoon that it's like, don't trade Dylan Cousins, don't trade Power. Like, Power is really soft in front of the net, but he is getting a lot of points. Cousins he kind of seemed like he was at man strength level and that the game was going to slow down, and at times it does. But he also just looks emotionally very young. That he's like the most flustered. So it's like you trade those two guys, they're going to be the 2025 Stanley Cup winner on someone's team, right? Like, you just know that. So don't do it. Like, the next step is you just have to pray that Terry Pagula is like, what I've been doing and meddling just sucks. I just need a director of hockey operations who runs this entire thing, and I pay the checks and I check in on Friday on what they say.
And presumably the first thing that person would do would be to get rid of Kevin Adams.
I mean, I can't even think of an analogy of it, but I mean, Kevin Adams. So he became the GM in Buffalo around COVID. Kevin Adams, with a Y, forgot to like close the boards down at the sister rink next to the Key Center. So the boards all got warped because of his like lack of shutting the rink down during COVID. Like 4 weeks later, he's the GM of the Sabres. You're just like, the guy couldn't even get. I wanted to curse, but I'm not going to. But like,
go for it. It's fine. It's allowed. You're entitled.
He couldn't close like the beer league rink down properly, right? Like, what other analysis needs to happen here to be like, this man is not like in the running for this, right? Like the three of us could be this guy, right? And it would still be absurd, but it'd be like, oh, well, these guys dedicate like a ton of their money and life, and like, sure, like let's hear their thoughts. No one ever asked for Kevin Adams' thoughts. They just asked for the keys back from that hockey rink to be like, the one thing we're asking here as we shut down this rink for seemingly forever is don't let the boards warp, right? There's a proper order. It's not like some crazy, if this happens, that happens. It's the same 3 steps. Like, just do it. And he didn't do it. And now he's the GM. He's a yes man. That's why it's Kevin with the Y.
So how did this guy get this job?
He's from Buffalo, and he's like a rink manager.
He's like and then
he played in the NHL. He played for the Hurricanes when the Hurricanes won the Cup. So like automatically none of us like him.
Right.
It's like you're a Buffalo boy, came in, won the Stanley Cup in the 1 year that was ours because everything else like went wrong. I think I remember talking to you about this at the time, but like Jay McKee had a staph infection, which at the time I was like, I didn't even know people got staph infections in the 2000s. I thought that was like some sort of medieval thing. I'm like, no, he's going to miss Game 7 because of a staph infection. I was like, holy crap. It's like, it's just never going to happen in Buffalo. Like, and at that time I remember thinking, oh, this is the worst. Like and little did I know this year existed.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a series of gut punches. I mean, I remember the end of that 90s run with the Stars series. I feel like that was the first dagger in the heart, at least in my understanding of it. And then it's just been downhill from there. It takes a special type of universe, like almost intending to screw you over, where your controversial loss of a Stanley Cup results in the elimination of the rule that cost you the Stanley Cup immediately at the start of the following season.
But like that's where the Sabres are now, that it's like I don't even care about that anymore. I mean, they have stolen actually the Brad May goal is probably the only thing that still gives me goosebumps, but it is like memento. Things are just like going away, like slowly and surely, and you're like, they're gonna come for this 94 memory. Like in the next like 6 weeks, they're gonna come for that memory.
I see.
I think that memory is gonna disappear because they are going to break this streak after 18, right? So they'll take it past 18 games. They'll win one meaningless game, and like complete assholes, they're going to go on another 18 game bender, and it's just going to like kill all. Like when you were like, oh, that first, like there'll be a debate on like, was the first 18 game losing streak bad or the second one terrible?
Yeah. Ugh. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, last night was an interesting one because there was a moment where I was like, if there's any team that's going to let Buffalo break this streak, it's going to be us. Our team this year has been sort of the team that other teams, when they have problems, come to play Boston to work them out. And after our goal got pulled back, I was like, this is it. Buffalo's going to, unless the text came from you that was like, I swear to God, if Boston beats us, I'm going to be so fucking pissed. Because you mentioned that the games where it's closer hurt more than the games when you're getting blown out.
Yeah, that's gone. That feeling has gone away.
Yeah.
They all don't really feel like much anymore. But I will say what's funny is I was traveling yesterday, so I missed most of this game. I was just checking in on the scores, and it was 1-1 forever, and I was like, okay, whatever. Watch them blow it, because they need to get to 18 for me. Like, to have 2 legendary 18-game streaks is like just so pathetic. But so when I finally sat down, there was 4 minutes to go, and I just got a new phone. So of course my ESPN is not logged in. So I click in to try to get in, and I see that I'm not logged in, and I ask my wife if I can have the ESPN password. She gets it, and I need to. Then it sends you a confirmation. It's like, oh, from your email, can you get me what the passcode is so that I can get in? It took her like 3 minutes to get this. 3 hockey minutes to get it. When I finally log in, it's 3-1. 3 hockey minutes. I was like, I hate this team so much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, our hearts are with you. I mean,
which is also just something.
Which is the worst thing.
I don't want a Bruins fan to be like, "Oh, we feel terrible for you." We should be in something. We're in nothing.
Yeah, I know.
It's like you guys are the Miracle Wish kids.
Yes.
There's nothing better than watching your favorite NHL team live to see the action up close and personal. And if you're looking to score tickets, Game Time is the place to go. With the NHL Four Nations tournament happening in my own backyard at the TD Garden, Game Time will be my go-to to score tickets to those games. Game Time is not just for sports folks. Game Time also has tickets for all types of live events, including concerts, theaters, and comedy shows. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curated deals makes it easier to find the best price on great seats, and who doesn't want to save a few dollars when you're looking to go to a live event? Game Time Picks provides you with a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and it also has a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. It's easy, folks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use redemption code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. It's the most wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7. My team recently gifted me in my DraftKings account with 2 anytime goal scorer hits. And here's a gift for all new customers. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
I know how pity angers you. Well, I want to do something to help you make you feel a little better. And so,
oh God.
Well, within our Discord, we've got something that was set up for a couple of folks called the Refs Rage Room, and it's basically just where people can go and scream and work their issues out, without breaking up the flow of the in-game chat. And what I wanted to do was offer you a bit of a Bruins rage room here. I was going to give you just a few minutes because you've spent been a good sport, 25 minutes basically dissecting your own team, which is kind of the worst thing for a fan to actually really have to do when things are really that bad. So why don't you take that turret gun and Go off on the Bruins. I know deep inside you want to.
No, I don't even care anymore. When
Oh my God, it's gotten to that point. It's gotten to that.
Yeah, because you guys still kind of suck, right? Like, you're not as good as you used to be, but it's still like light years ahead of us. So it's like, what are we pointing at? It's like, oh, you guys suck much better than we do, I suppose.
All right.
I mean, like when we were talking, and I was like, I ended up saving something in my phone at the beginning of the season, right? Because I was like, this whole Swayman thing is going to destroy the team, and you guys are going to suck, right? It's going to be the worst for you forever. And it kind of played out a little bit like that, right?
Yeah, it was eerily close.
And at some point when the Sabres were like in the playoffs, I remember sending you the standing, thinking like, this probably isn't going to take, like, it's like being a guy in the Apollo launches, like in the control room when you're like, I'm pretty sure booster 3's on fire. I think these guys are all going to die, but like, they got to go. We got to try it. And I kind of knew sending that to you as being like, oh, the Sabres are in the playoffs and you're out. You know, we're going and you're out. Everything's changing. I knew it was like a systems failure, but I had to keep hitting the button.
Yeah. No, it was, I mean, it rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, it's one thing when, we orient yourself against Montreal, between Montreal and Toronto. But when, the Sabres are like, hey buddy, how you doing? We're ahead of you. Wasn't great. Didn't like it. And your prediction for how the Bruins season was going to start was eerily close. The only thing that wasn't close was, the Sabres. Yeah.
But that's, that also is really irritating because it's like you watch the Bruins struggle, you watch them have a coach who's excellent, and they're just like, the hell with him. And it's like we've got a guy who couldn't get the rink shut down correctly 5 years later, who still has put nothing on the ice, and they're like, the answer's in the room. It's like, no way, dude. Other teams who have won the Stanley Cup have said goodbye to guys who are like, 600% winning percentage. We don't win. It's like, just change. If other good teams can change, we should be changing immediately.
Yeah. So I wanted to, let's see, there's one of the things that I wanted to get your thoughts on, simply so we could try to find a little bit of common ground. Because I mentioned earlier that you did something that in the time that I have known you has never happened. And during the end of last season, you started texting me in what I thought was immediately a trap, showing support for the Bruins against Toronto. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that a little bit because it was not something that I considered, but I think the Sabres and the Bruins probably have a mutual disdain for Toronto, but probably for different reasons.
I mean, for us, it's Toronto always ends up in our stadium, like in full force. And they're just jerks when they're there. So you just kind of begin to hate them. I don't know if Bruin fans really do it to that extent.
No, I mean, I've known people that have driven up to Buffalo for a game or two, but you had made the interesting point that the ticket prices in Toronto are so like through the roof that it was actually cheaper to just cross the border and go to the Sabres.
Yeah, it's cheaper to like get these guys come completely loaded. They're like, they get a limo, they drink the whole way down to Buffalo.
Yeah, they're
crazy at the stadium. They go all the way back, and it's cheaper than sitting in the worst seat in Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. It was funny to be rooting alongside you or having you rooting alongside me.
But I kind of knew that both of these teams sucked. Right?
What's that?
It's like I knew both of these teams kind of sucked. Like they weren't going to win the Stanley Cup. But like, just being a totally jaded Buffalo fan at this point, it's like, we have not won the Stanley Cup. All these expansion teams win the Stanley Cup. It's like, I just can't have Toronto break. Like, as much as I hate you guys, you've already just recently done it. So like, what's a second one? But it's like, you can't break the 67 curse, right? Like, that's the one sweet thing. Somehow never winning since 67 seems to hit so much harder than never winning it since 1970.
Right.
1970, like, doesn't even seem like it's ridiculous that you've never won one than when your last one was in 67. I don't know why that's the case.
That's true. I mean, I think we all kind of felt that way. We felt that way a lot about the round one exit for Toronto for a long time too, because we were always meeting them in the first round, and it got to a point where it was like, and much in the same way as the game last night, it got to the point where Bruins fans like really would rather just avoid Toronto because they're like, eventually they're going to win one. and we do not want to be when they first break that seal. And that was like when that goal got called back last night, I was like, God damn it, it's going to be us. It's going to be us. Buffalo's going to beat us, and they're going to be like, oh, remember that epic 13 12 game losing streak? Who did they finally beat to break that? Oh, they broke Boston. Oh, Boston was awful that year. Oh yeah, horrible. So I mean, on the one hand, I empathize, but on the other hand, thank God it wasn't us. It can be anybody us.
Because your podcast may not know this, but so the Sabres are at 13 now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they play the Islanders on Monday.
Yeah,
and then they have off until they play Chicago, who we are now tied for dead last.
Okay.
When the Sabres lose that one, it is pretty smooth sailing to 25. And I think most of us are kind of on board for like, this has to hit 25. Like if you're going to go after it, like it's got to be bad.
Right.
Go
So
big or go
you're
home,
basically
for
just,
sure.
your whole
sure.
season is like shooting the moon. Like you're just like, how long can we ride this out? Just
Well, the one thing I was telling friends, because everything is a Bills Sabres, like that's the toggle that you have. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that Josh Allen will get his first playoff win before the Sabres win again. And they were like, what happens if we, go out in the first playoff game? I was like, I've totally factored that in. I stand by my comment. Josh Allen gets a playoff. Even if that happens in 2026, the Sabres will just lose right down the line. They're the Buccaneers.
All right. Well, thank you for your thoughts and insights. I before we let you go, I wanted to do a little bit of almost like a Rorschach lightning round with you. Yeah, just to see if there's any hot takes you can share. I'm just going to list off some names, and I just want you to give me like your first reaction to when you hear these names. All right.
Okay.
All right. First reaction. First name: Pat LaFontaine.
Love him.
He's
a god. He was so good.
All right. Zdeno Chara.
This fat bastard. Not that he was fat, but he's just this gigantic like train wreck. Like you just knew you were going to get punished by this guy. And yet he had a very like simplistic face where it was just like, he doesn't really look like a mean bastard, but apparently he is a mean bastard.
He's mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad
he was our god.
He was. I mean, we loved him. I know you were not a fan, but Brad May.
Such a beautiful goal. I mean, it's still, every time I watch it on YouTube, it still just gives me goosebumps.
Fantastic. Linus Ullmark.
I don't know. He was supposed to stay with us and go through this hell with us. The fact that he got off and then went to like immediate success and then went to like split immediate success and then got screwed and then left. And at first it looked like, oh yeah, you suck. Like it was Swayman the entire time. It was nothing. It wasn't you. And now apparently he's hot again. It's
yeah,
like,
he's been great.
He was always injury prone with the Sabres too. And then like he's played every game pretty much since reliably, except in the playoffs.
Dominic Hasek.
Oh, I guess he's God. But I'm Hindu, so you can have multiple gods.
Oh, there you go. All right. That's allowed. Michael Pekka.
People used to think I looked like him because I had the same haircut as him which at the time.
Yeah.
So I think of him as a very good looking man.
Okay. Jack Eichel.
I hate him. Just such a bastard. He's your quintessential Boston like bullshit guy. I hate him. When he finally got the trade and was going to get the neck surgery, I, like most of the Buffalo Sabres fans, were like, I hope it fails. I hope the surgery fails.
All right. Patrice Bergeron.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he's just like your quintessential good guy, right? Like he is. Thompson's husband, his wife had cancer. And at one of the puck drops, Bergeron like tapped him on the leg and was like, he checked in on him. And Tage Thompson said something. So it's always nice to see people like live well beyond what the game actually is.
Right. Yeah. We miss him. He's certainly my favorite player, but It's hard to find anybody who has anything bad to say about that guy. Rick Jenneret.
Oh, just such a legend. Like, I don't know how he would deal with this because, I get the sense that he was a drinker in his life, but like he was just such a legend that no one was going to ever fight anything he said. I could totally see him just cursing in these games, but like, I can't fucking believe this one, right? Where the new play-by-play is kind of like management bound. Like they'll just get housed 6-1, and he's just like, then if they can just tighten up, it's like it's 6-1 with 2 minutes, dude. It's over. There's nothing. And they just stay so optimistic. Rick Jenneret would never have done that.
Okay, it's Jack Edwards.
I can't even say anything because if I say anything, it's going to be so pithy about his actual whatever's going on with him. So I can't say anything.
Oh, all right. Well, I appreciate your restraint. And has he not? Yeah, his health issues.
But he was such a homer. I mean, you guys know this, right? Like he was.
Oh yeah, we know.
Homer.
Everybody's a homer, though.
He's a homer, though.
Yeah, you gotta be.
The people would get their face punched in, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, well, what a fight by the Bruins! He threw like a right. He's like he threw a right because his head got like that was like a fencing pose. His arm just came straight up because he's like brain dead."
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing I can say about Jack Edwards is that he did call both sides equally. The other team scored; there was just equal amount of enthusiasm there. So, as much of a homer as he was, he was excited for the game.
Well, he did something like I don't know. The Sabres have just sucked for so long. There was some game like before his issues started that he like came to Buffalo just to harass the fan base. I forget what he did, but it was just such a douchey thing. And it's like, dude, you're like a legend. You've done this for like 35 years. We suck as a fan base. We all get it. None of us want to do this any longer. Like, we don't need you here. He's like the tall, skinny kid who just like pops up at the end of like a high school fight. That's like, get the fuck out of here, Edwards. And he gets on his bike and leaves. Tage Thompson, he's driving me crazy now. He's a line one guy who's actually really a line two guy. He's just mentally like brain dead on a lot of this stuff where he's trying to dangle everyone and everything, trying to find the perfect shot. It's like, and he keeps kind of drifting to the perimeter. So you're just like, if you really were a superstar, you would be able to help us. Like, we don't need a goal when it's 6-4 or 6-1 to get like 6-2. Like that's nothing. Like 2 years ago, I mean, he was doing amazing things. And now he's still kind of scoring in big chunks, but he is like the number one culprit of like scoring and just being like, oh, I hate this game.
Adrian, before you ask, all right, what do you think about Trent Frederick?
What?
I gotta know. No, Kevin.
Doesn't even know who Trent Frederick is. Trent Frederick, I think, should end up on the Sabres.
Oh God, is he another one of these Clifton types? Oh, everyone in the locker room loves him. I don't want another guy that the locker room loves.
You want another guy that the locker room loves?
No, I don't want another locker room love guy.
Okay. You want, yeah.
I want like a piranha, just someone that's like, I hate playing with this guy, but I feel like if we let him down, he's going to kill us all.
There you go. Well, hey, so here's my last name on the list. Brad Marchand.
I kind of hope that there's a Vegas Bruins game where like him and Eichel just collide into each other and it just like puffs away and then they like somehow it into some black hole and just disappeared. And you're just like, that was the greatest play on the face of the earth. These two assholes have just disappeared. Although he seems like such a likable guy in all these commercials now, which just makes me even angrier with him. Like when I just thought he was a bad, dirty player, it was easier to live with. But now that you're like, oh, I think he's like a guy that if you actually knew, you'd totally like him, which just makes you even angrier at him.
Yeah, he was a douche
nice, likable Marchand. I'm sorry, what's that, Mo?
No, yeah, he was definitely a douche early on. And I think all Bruins fans were happy to see him clean his act up kind of recently. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was better than his antics were kind of showing. He was always more capable, but I think being a short guy, he had a lot to prove. And
Well, what do you guys think about this? Do you think he's around at the end of this year? If like you guys are kind of on the cusp, there's chitter chatter about selling him to maybe bring him back?
No,
later?
I think that's just clickbait. I mean, my feeling, and Mo, you chime in here, but my feeling on it is, if Don Sweeney took all of the cap space we had to start this season, and used it to sign a goalie that is underperforming out of the gate, bring in a center that is not scoring, and a big defenseman that's not defending, leading us to be way worse than we were supposed to be. And the ending of that story is we trade our beloved captain and the last guy on the team from the 2011 Cup run. The city will explode. So I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he gets extended before the end, and his performance. I mean, he's leading the team in goals. He's 36 and he just came off 3 surgeries over the summer.
Yeah,
he leads the team in goals right now. I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, I don't think he'll be traded. He'll be back, I think, for at least 1, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And then,
let me ask you. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think there's any chance he's getting traded.
Yeah.
And then what's the deal with Swayman when we were talking about this at the beginning of the year? Adrian, you were kind of on the cusp of signing him versus not signing him. Was it the right decision?
I didn't think he was going to get. I didn't think he was not going to get signed. Look, you turn the tables. It's like Sabres gut check all over again. Long live Sabres gut check. Kevin's Sabres podcast from years ago. I thought that that they had Swayman kind of backed up a bit, that he was going to need to come to the table because he was a restricted free agent and they would wait him out. And then numbers got leaked. Fandom turned against him and he came back to the table and signed. But and then for all that talk of his notebook and his hurt feelings about arbitration, he's not really coming out of the gate extremely strong.
Well, are you one of these guys that believes that Corpy is better? Is the better option right now?
Mo and I talked about this earlier. I think it's an expectation driven thing. I think that, expectations are low, Corpy higher for Sway. What do you think, Mo?
Yeah. Obviously, Swayman was bad early on because he didn't practice. He didn't get his time. Korpisalo started strong and just has been what seems like the stronger goalie, but Swayman ultimately was the right signing. I don't. Maybe a bridge deal would have been nice, but then that could have shot the Bruins in the foot where he would have needed $12 million. So it was a gamble, but it was the right gamble, I think. And
there's another one that I listened to that said like the bridge deal is just gone. Like you really can't bridge anyone unless you're just trying to have them for 2 years, knowing full well that they're going to leave.
Yeah, well, I mean, between Swayman and the Rangers goalie whose name's escaping me right now. Yeah, I would. It's Shesterkin. Yeah, I think that that type of approach to goaltender contracts has kind of exploded. But it's interesting that neither of them are able to really, and both of their teams are not performing the way they would be expected for, grade A goaltending talent.
And yet you wouldn't bring a Rangers fan in here to be like, hey, we're feeling terrible about it for you guys.
It's the
bad
thing
for hockey that you suck.
No, because they're the Rangers. I mean, honestly, you lived in New York. We don't want to talk to Ranger fans. But here's the thing, and here's the fundamental difference. When the Sabres go on 13-game losing streaks, the fans are like, I have thoughts. When the Rangers start losing, the jerseys just go back in the closet and they just start rooting for the Yankees and forget about it. Like, you can tell when the Rangers are in the playoffs because that's when all the jerseys come out. I've never seen jerseys. I only see jerseys in May, March, when the Rangers like, oh, they're in it. Oh, let me dust this off. Look, you pull on this Lundqvist jersey I bought 10 years ago and haven't worn since.
Were you the one that was telling me that there was after the Rangers got knocked out this year or the last playoffs, there was a homeless guy wearing a pristine new Rangers jersey because someone ripped it off and threw it on the ground and left it there. I was like, that's amazing.
Oh, that's a great story. And that's why we're not talking Ranger fans. Also, I don't know any.
Yeah, it's December. To your point, it's December.
Yeah,
unless you're talking to like a fireman or a cop, like
right.
you don't know it.
It's true. It's true. They like to be patient. This is a city that doesn't really handle losing well. So it's just like, the end of the season is when all the paraphernalia comes out, if they're going to be in. Otherwise, they won't wear it. Well, and thanks so much for taking the time to do this. I hope that you at least have achieved a little bit of catharsis, being able to purge some of this Sabre energy, or maybe like Mo talking about Trent Frederick, it just made him angrier. I don't know.
Yeah, it did.
I'm feeling.
Well, I'll be very curious to hear what your podcast listeners have to say to this. If they're just like, we hate the Sabres, didn't need to hear about this, or if they're like, yeah, this could happen to any one of. I really don't think it would happen to any other team. Like a distinct Sabres thing.
This could be you.
But no, it couldn't. Like, you just couldn't have an owner this stupid. And I know you have Jacobs, and I know he's kind of like his own worst enemy at times, but he clearly has done something different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is uniquely ours, but I'm curious if your listeners are like, oh yeah, like I needed to know about this, or if they're like, hey, don't even talk about it. We don't even want to run the risk of this happening to us. Bringing for Buffalo in here has like ruined everything.
So maybe it's like a ring situation. We've now talked to you, and now we have 7 games, and then we're gonna die a horrible death.
I'll bring you back if you guys are on like game 7 straight losses.
Yeah,
I'll try to perform some sort of exorcism.
Perhaps. All right. Thanks so much.
Yep.